Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Laura Rogers, and this is SharePoint Power Hour. This is a weekly show that my cohorts at Rackspace Hosting and I do every Wednesday at 11 Central. SharePoint Power Hour is all about things you can do in SharePoint and Office 365. It's not anything with custom code and not anything with hardcore server admin, just all that other stuff in like lots of other categories such as BI or out-of-the-box forms, workflows, sort of user interface, web parts, just all kinds of other stuff that we cover in our Power Hour. So what we've been doing in the past 3 Power Hours or so is demoing different types of form products. So what we started off with InfoPath, because InfoPath is sort of the inherent form product that's part of SharePoint, that's part of the enterprise version of SharePoint that Microsoft announced that it's going away in the year 2023. So people are always asking, what are we supposed to start using now instead of InfoPath? So we thought we would start doing, just demo some other options that are out there. So we demoed K2 Appit, and this time we're demoing the Nintex Forms app in Office 365, or it doesn't have to be in Office 365. In the SharePoint store, it's the Nintex Forms app. So we're not going into the K2 or Nintex workflows, we're just demoing the forms portions. So again, last week I demoed K2, and this week Joelle is going to demo Nintex. So before we get started, we're going to go ahead and introduce ourselves. Again, I'm Laura Rogers, work at Rackspace Hosting. I'm a SharePoint MVP. I've been using SharePoint about 10 years or so, and I love SharePoint, Office 365. And we'll just go, let's see, the order that you guys are in, that I can see in the Google Hangout is Kevin, then Ryan, then Joelle, then Tanya, then Tavis. So we'll just go through all of you and introduce yourselves, and then Joelle will do her demo.
Hi, I'm Kevin Hughes, SharePoint architect here at Rackspace, and I'm based out of Kansas City. Been working with Microsoft-based solutions since around 1995, SharePoint exclusively since around 2007, and my role is basically to figure out what our clients need as far as SharePoint concerns and how we can deliver that and make sure that they get it. So that's me.
All right, hi everybody, I'm Ryan Keller. I am the branding guy on the SharePoint team here at Rackspace. If you need SharePoint to look a little less SharePointy, that's my thing. I've been working with SharePoint since 2007, and been doing branding exclusively for about 4 years now or so.
All right. Hey guys, I am Joelle Farley. Basically I specialize in business solutions, so I do a lot of planning and design, information architecture, as well as things like forms and workflows. And I'm based out of Atlanta, Georgia, and where it is very cold and rainy, by the way. And I have worked with SharePoint since SharePoint 2007 was released. So, good times.
Tanya, you're next. Oh, we can't hear you. We'll just, if you get your microphone. Oh. Now I can hear you.
Let's try this. I'm Tanya Kaiser. I'm one of the newer members of the team. So I am actually our SharePoint admin for our internal Rackspace farm, so my customers are other Rackers, and I assist them with everything from intro to SharePoint training to some legacy migrations, and I on our internal farm. So I primarily deal with a lot of new users to SharePoint who don't have SharePoint experience, and then using our out-of-the-box web parts.
And I am Tavis Lovell, and I am on the Business Solutions team as the Business Intelligence developer on the team. So I deal with all things reporting and dashboarding, things like Performance Point, Power Pivot, reporting services, things like that.
Awesome. Cool. And Kevin, and let's see, Steven's not here because he's actually teaching an online SharePoint admin class all week this week. It's It's sharepoint.rackspace.com/training. We have the admin class that he teaches, and the power user class that I teach that I'll be teaching all week, the last week of January, just FYI. And I did forget to, let's see, let me put it back on me. And I did forget to mention that we'd love for you guys to ask questions and have discussion kind of as we're going. And so if you're watching on YouTube, then there's actually a little yellow link right on the video that takes you over to the Google Hangout. And that's where, once you get to the Google Hangout, there's a little panel on the right that will let you, I think by default it shows a little app called Showcase, which is just links that we share, but then there's another app called Q&A. So there are some little squares towards the top right. If you click those will let you switch between the apps, and that's where you can see the little Q&A panel and come in and ask us questions. So we'd love to see those and get your feedback, and that's why we do it live. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to Joelle.
All right. Let me go ahead and get my screen share going here. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, so today I am going to talk about the Nintex Forms that Laura mentioned, so the app that you can get from the App Store. Once you grab that app from the App Store, you're going to see Nintex Forms for Office 365 will be here. And if I click on this and just open it up just to kind of quickly show you, it basically just tells you, it's just like a welcome page, so it says thanks for installing Nintex Forms, and it shows you that for this app that you can get to it from lists and document libraries. You'll see this button in the ribbon for Nintex Forms to be able to customize those. There is also a product guide here. It does have a little bit of helpful information. I would say mainly if you're just completely brand new to Netflix. Sorry, Nintex, I totally just called you Netflix. But if you're brand new to Nintex, then you can click the product guide, and just gives you some helpful information just kind of to get you started with these forms. Okay, so back to the site here. I have created a couple different things. I was kind of just, I haven't used Nintex a ton, and so I was just kind of playing around with some different things I know that I do in InfoPath regularly. So one of the things is like a cascading drop-down. I'm gonna kind of show how you can create a cascading drop-down inside of a Nintex form, and then also just like a travel request, and then I'm gonna do like a survey where we have some rules going on, just to kind of give an overall look at how this works. I did notice, just so before we get started, I do notice that I was looking at some information about the regular Nintex form options, and it looks like there are a few things that are not available with the app. Just like some little minor things here and there I noticed that were missing or not available. So it looks like that the app has maybe less functionality. I'm not sure, and I don't have like the exact like documentation of what it has or doesn't have. I'm sure we can find that online, but just to kind of give you a heads up, it looks like there are some things that are not available in the app version versus the full version that you would install. So with that said, let me go ahead and let's go over here. So I have this customer evidence form. This is actually something that I pulled from that product guide that they sent. They actually give you a step-by-step demo, and so this is one of the things that they had in there. And I created a couple of columns. It's just a regular list. I have a couple columns in this list: so account management name, company name, products, additional details, types of customer evidence. And what I wanted to do with this one is I have this customers and division list. So I have a list of customers and a list of divisions, and I wanted to create a lookup on this form so then that way when my user comes in and they choose a certain division, it will only show the customers that are kind of belong to that division or are underneath that division. And we call that a cascading dropdown, and you'll see that a lot as a requirement with forms. Specifically, we do that a lot with InfoPath, and we have accomplished it some other ways. But that's a pretty common requirement, and it's not something that you can just do out of the box with SharePoint without some kind of MacGyvering. So I wanted to see, I kind of did some research because I wanted to see if Nintex would be able to support something like that and if that would be easy to do. And thankfully it looks like it is. So I'm going to go ahead and I want to customize this form. So when you want to customize a list form, I'm going to click List. And then I'm going to, in my list, the list tab of my ribbon, I'm going to go to Nintex Forms, which is right over here. And this is the button that will get added once I add that app to my site. So I'm going to click Nintex Forms.
Now, we went ahead and did the 30-day trial demo of
Yes.
that, by the way. The K2 Appit was, when you go to the appit.com website, you actually have to, when you put in a request for a demo for them, you had to go talk to somebody and get an email with an attachment for the app, and then go through the process of installing the app in your app store. It's a special file, and enabling your site collection, doing a lot of extra steps. But the Nintex Forms was just when you click to add an app and go to the store, just in the app store, it's just there, and you just click 30-day trial. So that part was a little more simple for Nintex, for people who don't necessarily want to have to talk to somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
To try out the product.
Yep. So here, and you can see, because I'm in the trial, I get that lovely trial message, and I can buy now or go to the designer. So I'm going to go to the designer. So what it does, right now, it's just pulling my form exactly. So I had some columns added, and it's just pulling it in from that. And then this is where I can begin customizing. So before I do that, though, before I kind of get into this cascading dropdown, I just want to kind of go through what we're seeing here on the display. So what you have is, in the designer at the top, you have a designer tab. So it's where you can save and publish. It's where you can do undo and reset and all that fun kind of editing stuff. You can create columns in your list or library right from here. You have some form settings, import and export. I haven't played around with those too much, but I believe that you can save an Nintex file somewhere and then import it or export it. So kind of like if you were creating some kind of template that you wanted to use. Properties and rules. Help and feedback, and then basically as I click on controls here, I would get another tab, and then I have a control tab where I can make changes. So there's a control settings where you probably do most of your updates to your controls, and then we also have a couple other things here, mostly formatting of the control. And then also what you'll notice is that when a control is selected or a label is selected, over here we have this properties panel. And then the properties panel, the settings, this is basically very similar to clicking on control settings. You're going to see all the settings for the control, the name, what column it's connected to, appearance, formatting, so you can set up formatting here, and then you can get to more settings, which is just the same as clicking on
that layout looks awesome, by the way.
Yeah, and you can also, I was gonna mention that you can add new layouts. So right now this is just the desktop layout, but if I add more layouts, I can actually do layouts that are specific to certain things. So if I am dealing with a lot of iPad users or Windows tablet, yeah, right, but or Android tablet, or Nintex mobile phone, Nintex mobile tablets, you can really generate some forms that are specific to these different devices to really get a good mobile look. And I think that's one thing that I've heard that Nintex kind of stands ahead of a few others on, is the mobile kind of access for forms, because a lot of times you would have, if you developed forms with InfoPath, they would work on mobile, but they weren't like a really brilliant experience. It wasn't a really great experience. Whereas this, they actually have set these layouts up so you can really make a great experience for these different users. And I have not gotten too much into those, but that is what those are there for. So you can add them here, and then you have some layout settings where you can do some configuring on how they look and feel. And then we have, so besides that, so now that's the ribbon. We have the ribbon. We have the properties over here. We have in the middle, we obviously have the design screen. And then over here on the left, we have the form controls. So very similar to InfoPath. These are the different things that we can drag and drop and create on our form. You have things like a border, a button, calculated value choice, date, time. You have a label here. There's text, single line of text, a panel. Panel's a lot like, there's not tables inside of in Nintex, so that was a little bit funky to get used to, because I'm very used to, like, you know, you right click and insert a column or insert a row. That is not the way that Nintex works. Nintex is a completely drag and drop type thing. So if you want, you can create a panel, and then you put a bunch of labels and fields inside of a panel, and then you can do work around that panel. Similar to a section in InfoPath. And then we also have the repeating sections as well, so you have that repeating table type thing. And then we have SharePoint. We have the list lookup. That's what I'm going to use in this demo in just a minute, so we can actually do lookups to things in SharePoint. This is one area I noticed a big difference between what you see in like the full. And now, granted, this may also be because I'm a trial. I don't know. To be 100% honest and to be fair to Nintex, I'm not sure if this is just because I am in a trial. But I did notice that under here, under the SharePoint, if you have the full-blown Nintex and you're not just using the app, you have a lot more options here. Under this SharePoint, but right now I only have this list lookup option. That's the only thing I see in the app right now. And then we have list columns. So this will show you the columns that you have already created. So these are columns from your list inside of SharePoint, and then you can drag and drop and use them in different places. One thing I've kind of noticed, and it's something that maybe we can kind of work through as we get through the demo, but one thing I kind of noticed is it seems that your best option is to create your columns inside, like on your list before you start working on the form. Whereas like with InfoPath, if you're creating a list form, it's really easy to create columns and then publish it, and then they publish back up to your columns. It seems a little bit different with Nintex, so I would say the recommendation, it seems like even in all the demos I was looking at for Nintex, they tend to do it this way, but I would create, like on your list, go ahead, add all your columns, and then work on your form. And then obviously if you have things that you're adding to your form that you don't need as columns, then that's cool, but it seems like that would probably be the easiest route, because otherwise it looks like if you create a field here, and then you need to connect that back so that it's like quote-unquote published to your list or library, it seems that that's a little bit more difficult, or not as user-friendly as you would think.
So is this kind of like an InfoPath where you can have fields that maybe are in the form and don't actually exist in SharePoint as columns?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
That's good and bad.
The default. Yeah, like I said, it's kind of the default. So like, if you like you're just adding like hidden fields or things that you're using for rules or whatever, then that's awesome because you don't have to worry about it. But then if you're wanting to create a bunch of fields from here and then have those things published back up to your list, it just seems, I still haven't figured it out, to be honest. I was sitting here trying to like figure it out right before the call, because that was like the one last thing I hadn't figured out yet. So we may be able to kind of connect that or connect the dots on that as we go through the demo.
You guys in the chat room, let us know what you think about that. I don't know about y'all, but when I usually create a list that I'm going to customize the form, I usually start by creating all the columns anyway and just have them all there and then start customizing the form. That's just the way I work, but you guys let us know if you have different ways.
Yeah, because this one was one where I created the columns inside of SharePoint. You'll see that if I click here, it's called account management name, and then down here it's connected to the field account management name, which is the field. This is the field inside of the list column. So this is where I kind of see that it just seems like it's a little cumbersome if you were to just say, if I was to go over to form controls here and grab a text field. Let's see. Oops. I think I'm on the, oh yeah, general, there we go. If I was to go over here and just drag a text field and just kind of put it on my form somewhere, I'll just put it down here. So I have this text field now. Now if I want to connect that, it says not connected. I guess I have to add the column up at the top and then connect it or something like that. It just seems a little bit more, it's not as intuitive as I would have hoped. So let me go ahead and delete that. Alright, so what I want to do with this one is I am going to do my lookup, my cascading drop down. So I'm going to go back to the site really quick, so I'm going to close out of this for now. So what I have is, with any cascading dropdown, we have to start kind of from the beginning. So I have divisions and customers. I have these two different lists here. So basically the whole point of this is that on my form, they're going to click customers, they're going to click division. They're going to choose a division, and then the customer dropdown is going to be kind of filtered by that selection. So what I need to do here is I have divisions listed, and then I have customers. I'm going to add a lookup to my division list here and then tie each of these customers to a division. So I'm going to do that really quickly. And just do a quick edit and just tie some of these. All right, so I've done that. So now what I want to do is I need to go ahead and add divisions and customers to my form, so that when somebody, like I said, when somebody chooses division and chooses customer, then those things will be added to my form. So I'm going to go over to back to the form and back to the design view. Click Nintex Forms. And I'm going to add that right here. So I'm going to get rid of company name. And then I want to move these down a little bit, so I'm going to like highlight all of this and then just arrow it down a little.
That part, getting around in the form and like selecting things, and looks a little easier than it was in K2.
Yeah, I think it is. The only thing is that you're missing tables. So I just like tables because you can easily like kind of size and move things, like, put things in different places. But you are missing that, so you kind of have to, as you'll see, like if I want to, I'm going to add this lookup here.
So those aren't tables. They look like tables. Those aren't tables?
They're not tables. No, that's just the field itself. So I'm going to add a lookup here. And see, like, it's not really, and there may be a way to do it to, like, so, like, it's kind of like in Visio where you kind of, like, snap it to fit, but I haven't really figured that part out yet. So right now I'm just going to kind of move these around.
That's what this demo's all about, like how easy it can be to figure out and get it. So, yeah, that's kind of why, like, neither of us had any experience with the products while we're trying these out for these demos, and that's on purpose because we want to see how end users are going to be able to pick this up with minimal training.
And I'm adding a label here.
We have 23 viewers, by the way. That is a lot. That is like...
People want to know about Nintex. That's pretty good. Okay. So I'm going to add, and I'm just going to copy. Seems like the easiest thing to do most of the time is just to copy your fields. And then I can go ahead and put that here. And I'm going to add another lookup. Actually, I'll copy it again. Control C. Oops. May not let me copy this one. Let's see if I can do it. Okay, there we go. All right, so as you can see, it took me a couple minutes to kind of size those and get those in there the way that I wanted them. So now I'm going to go ahead and I want to set up these lookups so that they do what they're supposed to do. So I'm going to go first to, actually first I'm going to give this a name. So this one will be division. And then I can center that so it looks a little bit more like the one above, or actually it looks like there we go. And as you can see, even just like the way this looks, it just looks a little cumbersome. So I'm going to go ahead and do customer. And there's that. All right. And then I'm going to go ahead and I need to set this lookup here, set this up. So I am going to connect to divisions. And then the list column name will be title, allow multiple values, no. But I think there was something I need to prepend ID to value. I needed to make sure that that's set to no, and it is. Apparently that's something that you'll have to pay attention to because otherwise it would put the ID at the end of that value. All right, so that should be that. And then here I'll do the same thing. Go to my settings. Customers, and then title, and then let's see. There should be I'm missing the filter piece.
Hmm.
I'm not seeing that.
Huh. I'll see if I can. I'll look around on my end on a form that I got open, and I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's because I pulled that from a Nintex demo for 2013, so I'm wondering if that's another thing that's not available. So we may have just found that, because I'm not. It's basically supposed to allow you to filter here for that. So anyways, if I click save on this right now, what I'll be able to just see, just to kind of show you what I've done so far, is
Oh, I
if
am noticing, by the way, an undo button up there at the top left.
Yeah.
Where if that existed in K2, I could not find it.
Yeah, that was the one we couldn't find when we were in K2. So I'm going to generate the preview now, and as you'll see here, I can see that I have my division and then my customer values. And you'll just notice that, like, just the way that, like, it just doesn't look great. Like, it just, because I would have to sit here and kind of configure this so that it lined up with these, and I don't know, there's just some of the like, the design features are just a little clunky to me. Because, like, if I was dealing with a table, you know, I'd be able to, I guess I could just do this, maybe, and it'll look a little bit better. Oops, wrong one. It just seems like there would be a way to kind of snap these to fit a little bit better. I don't know. Now if I look at the preview again, I guess that looks a little bit better. But yeah. So that's what the lookup does, and what I'm supposed to be able to do, which I'm wondering if maybe the demo that I watched is not a feature that's available with the app. But what I'm supposed to be able to do is in my settings for customer, there is a option that says filter, where I can set up a filter so that basically it will look at the field of division on that customer, and it will only show me whatever the selection was for division. It will only show me the customers that relate to that. But it looks like I may not have that option. Use custom, please select. Yeah, that's not it. Formatting and validation. Yeah. Custom validation. Let me see if that pulls it up. Nope.
Maybe the rules thing.
No, it's not in the rules. It's actually it's in the settings. Because I remember he actually saw, like, in the little demo that I watched, it was like a filter. Like, he could filter. It was like actually said filter, I think. It was like a section.
Huh.
So it may not be available in the app, which is good. I guess good to know. And like I said, that might be something what I will do is I will pull up, see if I can find if they have like a table that shows you the features for the app and the features for the regular Nintex install, and just kind of see if they have that somewhere, and then post that in our links that we normally put out there.
That's right. In the K2 app, it was the app, you know, the Office 365, you know, the SharePoint Store app, and K2 separately has a K2 product that's like an on-premises product, just like Nintex Forms has this app versus a product that, like a full-fledged project you can install on your on-premises. I believe they both have, you know, it's kind of comparable for both of them, so that would be interesting.
Yep. Okay, well, since I can't really show that, I kind of gave you an idea of how you do the lookup, though. So we tied the lookup in our settings, and then we'll find out and see if it's just something that's missing from the trial or if you just can't do that. So then once you've kind of configured, so I've added these columns here, and I can, you know, move them around and get them to be where I want them to be. And once I've kind of configured that, then I can go ahead and save and publish my forms. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to save. And then I'm going to publish. And it will actually show me what layouts are being published and all that stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and hit publish. And the form published successfully. Okay. And then I can close. And now if I do new item from here, I'll get my form. So then my form loads. So I can go ahead and I type in what I need here. So go ahead and cancel back out of there. So that's the kind of customer evidence form, and we'll find out about that filter option and see why that's not available. So then also I have, let's see, I want to look at rules a little bit, and I have an employee survey. So this employee survey, I actually did not create the columns first because I was just trying to play around with it and see the experience. But I have gone ahead and I have added some stuff to the survey. So basically I created a new list called an employee survey, and it just left it blank. And then I went into...
Is that a SharePoint survey list, or is that just like a custom?
It's a regular list, yeah, custom list. Yeah. So then I click Nintex Forms. And basically, unlike the last one, what I did with this one is I pretty much cleared everything out that was on the form. And then what I did is I added panel. So there's these things called panels. I mentioned them earlier. I added a panel here. This is what this, you kind of see this border around my fields. And then I just used the label and the different things I needed, and I just dragged stuff over here and then sized it so that it would fit the way I wanted it to. So I have employee name. I have a people field here, people picker. Was there a question? Thought I heard something. No. I have people here. I have survey date, so I can put that in here. And then down here I have survey. This is, you can see it's a very simplistic survey. And then here we can hit save. So what I wanted to be able to do is I wanted to work with rules a little bit, and I noticed that rules in Nintex, at least Nintex Forms for Office 365, not sure about their full-blown Nintex, but it looks like you can create formatting or validation rules. Those are your two options. So I think some of the things like you'll see with like InfoPath or maybe even K2 is like, you know, setting fields values and doing some advanced stuff. It doesn't look like you have those options. So basically you have formatting and validation. So one of the things that I wanted to create here was I wanted to create more of a survey feel. So what I wanted is I wanted to basically have a drop-down box up here, and then you could choose between employee information or survey, and basically it would show those panels. So if I click employee information, I see that. If I click survey, I see that. So it's basically going to, the rule will hide a panel if it's not equal to a certain value. So the way that I did that, and it looks like there's even, there might be even in the full-blown Nintex, there looks like there's even better ways of doing that where you can actually create like tabs across the top, which is kind of cool. And I think that's kind of how they accomplish the whole pages like we have in InfoPath. I think that's kind of how they accomplish it in Nintex. So I'm going to go ahead and add a choice field here. And this is not something I really need to publish back up, so I don't really care about that. I just really want to use it in my form. So I'm going to call this form panel choice. And we'll do a drop-down list. And my options are, employee information or survey. The default value being employee information. And I'm going to go ahead and click save. So now I have that. So what I want to now do is I want to set up a rule, so then that way if employee information is selected, it will just show this panel. And if survey is selected, it'll just show that panel. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to click on this panel, and it selects everything inside of it. And I'm going to add a rule. We're going to call this hide employee panel. It's a formatting rule, and then here I can set up my condition. So this actually reminds me a lot of InfoPath, the way this rule thing is kind of set up. It almost looks exactly like it. So here I can do my condition. I can, if I was doing some kind of formatting, I can set the formatting here, and then I can also have the disable and hide buttons like I'm familiar with InfoPath. So here with my condition, if I click the function button, this is where I can kind of build my condition. So I have operators, I have some common things like the current dates and current user, some of that stuff that we're familiar with. I also have site ID, site collection, site name, site URL. I can pull those different things in there. I have item properties, so these are all the stuff from my my list. Named controls, and then runtime functions as well. So I have quite a few different things I can work with. So for name controls, I'm going to first bring form panel choice over. Or I want to click on it. I think I have to double click. Yeah, there it is. And then I'm going to set that so if it's not equal to employee information, I just kind of type that in. It looks like any text that you type in, you have to put quotations around it. Go ahead and click OK. So that's that, and then I'm going to have that hide. So that's my first rule. So whenever the form panel choice is employee information, or is not equal to employee information, then it's going to hide that panel. So now I'm going to do the same thing for survey. So hide survey panel. And then here I can go in and go to my controls.
I noticed something huge that is in K2 and not Nintex. That whole left panel, when we were working in K2, it has all these different data sources.
Yeah.
And all the easy ways to add different data sources, SQL, and all these different places. In this one, I don't see anything obvious for just creating like what would be like a data connection in InfoPath.
Yeah.
It has got lookup fields, obviously, to other lists, but I don't see anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, you can. I did notice that, like with the lookup. Let me just drag one on so we can look at that really quick. With the lookup here, you can. It looks like you can connect to other site collections. So source SharePoint site. So that's a nice feature because that's something that somebody may need to do is look up to like a top level or a different site. So it looks like you can do that. I haven't tested it yet, but it does look like you have that option, which would then probably pull in the list or libraries from that
Cool.
place. But that's as far as I've seen. I have not seen where you can do like completely like an outside data source like you could with K2. All right. So let's see. Did I finish that rule? I think I did. Form panel. Yep, it's not equal to that, so it's going to hide it. So then I have those two rules in place. So now when my users flip between those two options, they'll see different things on their survey. And so I'm going to go ahead and do a preview. So generate preview. And so now I see employee information. And then if I flip to survey, of course it's not showing me. And it did this to me earlier, so I don't know if that's just like a bug or something. So I like went out and I came back and then it worked. So I have no idea what that's about. So let me just go back into settings. Yeah, see, comma survey. Maybe it's not supposed to be. I think that may be it. Maybe that's what it was. Now let's try it again. Designer, preview. That may have been it. There we go. Yeah, it's because I had a space. So then I can see here I have employee information, and then I have survey. So that's how you can kind of set up if you want to use your rules to hide or display different panels or different fields. You can do that. You'll notice that my the size of my multi-line text box is a little odd. So I can actually, let me cancel out of this, and if I want to, just to kind of show you how I can adjust things, I can highlight both of these and move them down. And then I can expand this whole thing here. And then I'm going to get more space going on this box. Now let's preview it again. And it should look a little bit better.
Another thing that K2 has kind of along the same lines was you could, like a people picker or people fields, you were able to tap into the information about whoever the currently logged in person is. That's one of the really common things that people want to do in forums is automatically fill out a bunch of fields according to the information about the currently logged in person, like their name, department, phone number, manager, stuff like that.
I'm going to just scroll. Okay, so we can look here. This is the people picker. So entities to include, SharePoint group. Yeah, so it's very similar, just creating a column. It looks like you can set it to the default of the current user, I think. If I go back there, okay, you can at least do that. Or maybe not. Here we go, yeah. Common. Yeah, current user, display name, email, or login ID, but it looks like that might be it. So you can at least set it to the current user. You can at least do that piece, which I'll do that just for the heck of it. Well, we'll do display name. Oops. There we go.
But like display name, email, like those are like you don't get to go pick more fields. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's not like where you're tapping into the user profile and like pulling their manager and all that stuff and preferred name and everything. Yeah, definitely not. Okay, so
I
then
did notice one. I'm sorry, real quick.
No,
I was
go ahead.
kind of playing with it at the same time that you're playing with it. And another thing that your kind of the list that you've been testing with probably didn't have multiple content types, but the one that I tried it on did. So as soon as you click to start customizing the form, you get to pick which content type you want to customize. So you could go do different forms for different content types, just like, well, in list forms you can do that too with InfoPath, but that's one prompt that you get.
That's good, though. It's good to know you have the prompt and that you don't have to do anything kind of special to get that to work. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'll publish this one, and then we'll go do one more. Oh, one thing I did notice that I was not sure how it was like intended to work is with the libraries. So before I do that, let me just show you. So now I'm back at Employee Survey, I click New Item, and then here's my form. So then you can see my name is already defaulted in there. And then I can click Survey, choose from the drop down, and do that, and then hit, and then save it. But one thing I did notice is it says, so it shows, and Laura, you may have more insight or have an idea. So I have this Nintex form library. I just created this. It's not something that was, I named it that myself. And it shows like in the demo that I can customize forms on a library. So I did. I went in here. And it takes, as you can see, it takes a few seconds to load this every time. So I went in here, and I think I dragged in something. So we'll just drag in a label, something really not like even going to affect this at all. But just say, let's say this is, oops. I did that. So then I save it and publish it. And then I go back to my library. And now I don't know how to get that to come up.
Can you do edit properties or view properties of that document?
Maybe that's what it is. It's maybe just an edit form. Yeah, because like I don't see it when I'm like doing anything else, but you're probably right. I wonder if it's the edit form. Or edit properties, not edit document. Hold on. Edit properties. Yeah, that's what it is.
That's huge because people want to do that in SharePoint all the time, and you can't do that with InfoPath. So that's a neat little thing that you can do now. Okay, cool.
That's a really neat feature, yeah, because then you can have like the cascading drop downs for your, like as somebody loading properties for a document and that kind of thing. If we can figure out how to do the cascading, but in the regular Nintex at least. That's pretty cool.
Hey, you guys that are watching, all 23 of you, you guys have any questions or anything? There's a little Q&A panel in the Google Hangout. It's a little squares towards the top right. Lets you pick the app to ask us questions. So we'd love to hear your feedback or questions. It's very quiet over there.
All right, so I'm going to do a travel request. And I'm going to create some columns ahead of time because I don't want to mess with that on the back end. Create a couple columns here. Let's see. And one more. Alright, so I have some columns. I'm going to go ahead and open up Nintex Forms. Am I in the wrong? Let me try that again. I was in the right spot, but maybe it takes a second to load.
You never know with Office 365.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's weird. So I added columns, but they're not showing up. And they did in my other form. So, like I said, there's just some, I don't know, I just found it a little quirky. So like right now I'm in travel requests, and I should see those columns should already be here. And I'm sure they might actually be, let's see if they're listed. See, they are listed, but they should actually already automatically populate. So that's kind of strange. Let me try it one more time because I'm just curious as to why it's not. Because you'll see employee, department, they're all listed here. So let me try it one more time. I'll give it one more chance. Yep, so it's not showing up. That's odd because like I said, it should, because it did on another form that I created. I added the columns and then went in and edited it, or opened Nintex and it showed it. So that's another kind of quirky thing. But what I can do is I can just add them myself. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take out these. And then I can go to list columns here. And I just want employee. And department. And I'll have to add my own labels. So I put that down here.
So I guess kind of getting around in the interface is awkward in both K2 and Nintex in a way, because in K2 it's awkward because you can't really, it's not like a table that where you can drag stuff around. But in here, it doesn't snap to any kind of grid really, and you just have to line stuff up. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, and there might be tricks to it. It's just, if there are tricks to it, they're not very right in your face. Like, because there is grid lines here, as you can see. I mean, it might be hard to see at the display, but there might be a trick to it somewhere, but I just have not found that yet. So then now I added those fields, so now I have to add labels for all those fields. So that's kind of a little quirky. So what I wanted to show here, though, is before I do that, is I just wanted to show a repeating table. So I am going to add a repeating table, a repeating section as it's called in here. So from what I've seen, watching some demos, the way I would have to get this to work is I have to add labels and then fields in here. So like if I wanted to, let's say that we're going to do different trips. So I'm going to call this, we're going to have a label here. And apparently, according to the demo I saw, you basically have to add each label side by side. And we'll do one more.
Let's kind of, since we have about 10 minutes left or so, I guess when you're done doing this, we'll kind of just do a synopsis of just in general what you thought about it compared to other things, compared to InfoPath, and just little things it has and doesn't have. And again, think about it from a just newbie end user, Office 365 user perspective also.
Definitely.
Informal review.
Yep, I was going to do that in the last 5 minutes of this. I'm just trying to, but I wanted to show just kind of how see, I can't, no, it won't let me paste that one. Ugh, I don't know. I'm not loving it, sorry. I'm going to be honest. We're not, as you can tell, we're not being sponsored. Because I am not loving it. And like I said, it may be just because of the app. Who knows? The regular Nintex Forms maybe, and from what I've seen in the demos, it looks like they just have more fields in general. But I just wanted to kind of show how you could do this.
Well, a good thing it has is it lets you change the color of the form and the
Yep.
background color and the colors all, and that's some of the stuff that K2 didn't have. So
Exactly.
they've all got pros and cons, right? Any of you other guys in the chat window here, or any of our coworkers have any comments about that? Frank says good timing. Yeah, the reason he said that, he said he's working with InfoPath 2007 and SharePoint 2010, and his big challenge is getting our repeating table to work with a SharePoint list. I noticed that this does have a repeating table control. Joelle, did you notice that? I wonder if that lets you pick a different SharePoint list to have a repeating table control. That would be good to know for Frank.
Which one?
There's a repeating section.
That's what I'm using now. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So so the source for that is another list?
No, you basically. So basically, this is what I was doing. That's what I was showing. It was kind of weird. So I have labels that I add up here, so you can see what they are, and then I have to line up my controls here. These are just text boxes, and then basically what I did is I went into the settings for it. For the repeating section. Hold on. So I went into the settings here, and then I could put like the text for new icon. I guess what you could do is you could have a repeating section and then add a SharePoint lookup, like list lookup, and then set that up. But that's kind of just how it works. So I had to do that. Like you saw it took me like a couple of minutes just to get that all lined up. And so now what that looks like, if I just do a quick preview before we kind of start wrapping up. You can kind of see how that looks. So it looks like this. So location, reason, cost, and then if I add a new destination, then there's another location, reason, cost. And that's kind of how it looks. But you have to put your labels above the section, and then you have to kind of line everything up yourself to kind of make sure it fits correctly.
Where's the data being stored, though?
I haven't seen that yet. So I'm assuming it's probably, in this case, I'm assuming it's probably similar to InfoPath.
Lloyd says, when would you recommend one product over the other, K2 versus Nintex? Well, Lloyd, we're going to leave that up to you guys, because we're not going to sit here and just say absolutely you should use this or you should use that. It depends on what you need.
Yeah. So I can go ahead and I can go ahead and give you my opinion. For what it's worth.
Because they all have pros and cons, right? Depends on what you need. So it's up to you to kind of judge, but we're just telling you what we think as we go.
Yeah, so I definitely, like the way and I said this to Laura yesterday, and the way that I would compare these two is I would compare them like using Apple and Android. And if you know what and hopefully you may know what I mean by this, but basically I would say that Nintex is more like Apple, and K2 is more like Android. So Nintex is going to be very user-friendly as far as it's going to be simplified, right? It's only going to give you really what you need. It's not going to allow you to do a ton of extra customization. Whereas K2, being more like Android, is going to give you all kinds of options. You can customize it as much as you want to. It might even be a little complex at times, but you are going to have a lot more features there. So it really just depends on, like Laura was saying, it really is just going to depend on what you need to do with your forms. If you need a lot of this, like if you need to build these super customized forms with all these data connections and data sources and all of these rules and all this different stuff, then K2 is probably going to be more for you, or maybe Nintex, not the app. You know what I'm saying? Like we're just comparing the apps, because the Nintex that you have to that you buy and install on your server and everything like that, it may have more features and I think it does have more features than this does. But it looks like, just comparing the two apps, it looks like the K2 app has a lot more features than the Nintex app. That would be, but of course, as I'm sure, I don't know the exact cost, but as I'm sure K2 is probably you're paying for that too, because K2 is usually more expensive. So yeah.
Yes, if you have a bunch of newbie users and you want them all to be able to customize their forms, just any old person.
Yeah.
Then you might want to go with an easier user interface product.
Yep.
But if you need to be able to do like real custom business solutions where you're like more of like a relational database thing or more like a custom app type of thing, just no code, then K2 is going to be awesome for that.
Exactly. That's what I would say. All right. So I'm interested to know if our coworkers have any feedback in their work with clients over the years.
Yeah, Tanya, what do you think our end users at Rackspace would think of something like this or any of these products?
We definitely would probably go to, this one because very much like Joelle, I think gave a really good comparison, the Apple to Android, just based on user experience, which one's more easier to use, drag and drop, that sort of thing. So just based on user knowledge and how easy it would be, we would probably go with today's demo.
But then as soon as they ask for, well, can you put this over here and this from this other? Oh no. So that's hard.
And I think it goes back to what we said. They're each going to have limitations, and the users are just going to have to work through and be able to figure that out. But I think you're going to get that with any product too, though. Especially when you come to users who can only take it so far and can't take the next level. That gets a little bit more technical. So unless there's the perfect product out there and we just haven't found it yet.
Tony asked if we're going to preview any other vendors for form builders. Yes, we I put a tweet out today saying any suggestions for that. So we're going to keep doing these.
Yeah, I can look into. I want to try Formotus because Formotus is that company that was developed by the guy who created InfoPath.
Ooh.
So I'd be interested to see if we could get some kind of, even if they, we get just access to it instead of doing. I don't think they have an app. Maybe they do. I don't think so. But at least get access to it somehow and do a demo on it. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, and we have, I know Mark Rackley has developed something called Forms 7 that's on CodePlex. That's not an Office 365 thing. And there are a couple of other ones on CodePlex too. So we could probably go for weeks and weeks just doing form products because I think, and there are other apps I noticed in the App Store, a couple of other form things just in the App Store. So yeah, but feel free to offer your suggestions. Oh, and Michael in the chat window says, do you believe that Microsoft will eventually come out with an InfoPath replacement or will it be forced into a third-party solution? I do not know. Right now they've just said InfoPath's end of life as of 2023. They did announce at the SharePoint conference that they're doing this, what do they call it, FOSL, F-O-S-L, forms on SharePoint lists. And that would be like an in-the-browser form editing experience. So that's the last thing that they announced.
They've also mentioned that they may be doing something with Word documents too, where you can
They mentioned that, yeah.
Yeah. So who knows? Who knows? All right. Well, that's all I had. I can stop presenting. But hopefully, sorry I kind of clicked around there, but hopefully that was helpful so you can at least kind of get an idea of how that app works and what features are there and what features are not there.
Yeah, and I think, what did I have? I had something pulled up that I wanted to mention. Oh, good grief. Never mind. I had something pulled up on a website that I wanted to mention. So yeah, we're going to keep demoing form products, and then we'll probably just intersperse those with our regular power hours. But you guys feel free to tweet to me or one of us about suggestions for any particular form products you want to see or you heard of, or just any other power hour ideas. You can see that we've done on our YouTube channel, SharePoint RAX. You can see all of our power hours. They just get recorded straight into YouTube as we do them live. And so if you go to our channel, you're able to click to. We have a whole playlist with all the power hours in it. So we'll probably create a playlist just for the forms demos too. But you can see all the ones we've done, and you can see what we might need to do, what you can suggest. So thanks, Joelle, for the demo.
No problem.
And we'll see everybody next week at 11 Central.
Have a good one.
Bye.